So, as a city representative, I believe strongly that it's a little bit more of a hands-on kind of approach than I would have had as a congressman. So I believe strongly that it's like I can get in there, and make a positive change for this district in particular, but also for all of the city of El Paso.
Hello. What is the #1 threat to El Paso's environment, and what are your plans to alleviate that threat?
I didn't hear the question.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
What is the #1 threat to El Paso's environment, and what are your plans to alleviate that threat?
Well, I believe that we already know that with the Asarco site currently down the road here, that is probably the biggest threat that we see right now. I mean, sure, it's been there for 100+ years, right? But the damage that has been done there is probably the biggest threat that we see right now, because the cleanup that we're facing right now is going to be an enormous task that we're going to have to take on. And hopefully with the assistance of not only the state and the federal governments, but just getting involved with the process of cleaning that site up and getting it ready to be used in a more environmentally friendly way is the biggest task that we have facing us right now. So.
In favor or against the Texas bill similar to Arizona's State Bill 1070?
Well, as I stated during my campaign back last fall, and I'll continue with that same stance, is that particular law, the 1070 law that was passed in Arizona, is definitely not an El Pasoan law. Okay, it just simply would not work here. I agree with Sheriff Wiles in that to enforce that particular law would be a nightmare in and of itself, and I wouldn't be in favor of trying to enforce something that just is unenforceable here in El Paso.
Thank you.
On that same issue, some state legislators are going to pass a law similar to SB 1070 that would mandate local law enforcement to perform immigration checks. As a city council representative, you will have purview over the El Paso Police Department. First of all, do you agree? Well, you've already answered. You don't agree with that for El Paso. If enacted, however, by the state legislature, would you support a mandate from the state, even if it were unfunded?
I think that it would be probably best to work with our elected officials in Austin and tell them, look, this is what would work here for us. And work and try to explain to them, to try to enforce something that we know here in El Paso, because we know what's best for our city and what would work best here in El Paso. So and I'm sure you're well familiar with this. Having been the state rep, it's like, when you go to the rest of the House and the Senate up there, and you explain, this is what El Paso needs, this is what El Paso wants, this is what will work here in El Paso. It's going to be a tough challenge. I mean, granted, you have the entire range of views over there in Austin, and you're not going to be able to convince everybody. But trying to explain our stance that if we tried to enforce something like that, it just would not work.
But if enacted, would you support it as city council representative?
I would have to say no. I would have to say no, just because I know it would not work. It just simply would not work. Both sides of the coin, okay? The way I would look at it is from a fiscal standpoint, okay? I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter, if you're giving benefits to, same-sex partners or not. What matters is, can we afford to do this, okay? Because we're under a budget crunch right now as it is, and I want to make sure that we're able to handle this budget crunch. Can we afford to do this? If it's possible, then let's do it. If it's not, then let's not do it.
How would you have voted?
Well, it depended on the budget.
At the time?
At the time, I would have said no, because of the budget.
I want to follow up on Joe's question.
Mhm.
Do you believe that a person is born a homosexual, or that they choose to become one?
Well, I choose not to really get into that particular issue, and the reason is because everybody has their own beliefs. And if I were to go around and foist my view of what I believe upon somebody, that's not right for me, okay? I'm here to represent this whole district, okay? And if the voters here in this particular district, believe, when they go and vote, that is, something that is important to them, then I will support that, okay? I don't feel that we need to re-vote on something that's already been voted on, okay? However, I do believe that recent, passage of the legislation there, it was worded wrong. I mean, it really was. I spoke with members of both sides of this issue, and I said, if they had gotten the legal counsel in order to write that particular proposal in a way such as it would be a lot more clear as to what they were voting for and what they were not voting for, then that's the way I felt about that. Okay, so I think that if we were to approach that from the view where, okay, well, let's try to be a little bit more a little bit more aware of what's going on with that particular community, okay, and try to understand them, okay. I understand that, but the thing is, I just don't feel right imposing my beliefs on somebody when when I'm being told by like the people of El Paso that that's what they want.
I'm going to go back to the doctor's question.
Sure.
It's a very simple answer. Do you believe that a person is born homosexual or chooses homosexuality? Yes or no?
Again, this is my own personal belief, and having had worked and been around members of the gay community, and it is my own personal belief that you can choose that. Okay. However, like I said, I'm not going to foist my view upon somebody else, because to me that's not the issue. The issue is, what do the people of El Paso want?
Let me ask you, what is your position on or opinion of labor unions?
Okay. Well, having grown up in the city of Detroit, and being very familiar with the labor union movement and the good that labor unions can do, okay, I believe that labor unions are an integral part of, the business community of America. Seriously, because we need to have good, strong unions in order to be able to make sure that the businesses don't take advantage of its workers, okay? Now, however, you have also a number of unions who have, grown so huge that they've become a business unto themselves, and start, dictating to its members, how they should vote, how they should think, how they should, and get them all stirred up, okay. And I think that's okay, okay. But the thing is, you don't want to have it to the point where the union is like this huge, conglomerate of people that are telling, businesses and telling its members what they can and cannot do without, having some kind of, repercussions there between the business owners and the labor unions.
Do you support or oppose the expanded use of solar energy? Why or why not? And what other?
I hope that you had a chance to see that we do have needs here in El Paso, and we need to have somebody that's going to have a strong voice in City Council and not be afraid to speak up for this particular district here on the west side. We need to have somebody that's going to be willing to to tackle these issues. For example, the expansion or the infrastructure problems that we have here. Up and down, for instance, like Country Club Road, or expanding up Red Road, for example, too. Because when it comes down to it, we're all neighbors, and we all live here together, okay? And I want to make sure that our neighborhood and our district is going to be spoken for and well taken care of. And I want to make sure that I work with my partners on city council, for example, to make some of these things happen, okay? So I hope that, you've, had your answers from me, and I hope that you will come out and vote for me on May 14th. Thank you.